Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another live stream of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, January 1st of 2018. That means the month is over for December. And I'm on my European account, as is now my new strategy. So we made it to rank 20 on the European account, which will give us a rank 20 chest, which gives us 5 dust and a gold card and a new card back, and 5 bonus stars, which really my only goal now is to get back to rank 20 on all 3 of the accounts, and that's all I really care about for the while. Because this is the European account, it seems like you can never get the drop rate quite where I need it to be. So this third one will come in like a couple of hours. So in the meantime, I could play 15 overload cards almost certainly very easily, and rogue and warrior victories not so easily. Now would be the time for ranked play though, so if there is going to be any ranked play, this is the time to do it. So we'll just disenchant this one, since my European account strategy is to disenchant any golds for dust and use that dust to create any missing commons. Let's see, like missing classic cards are specifically what I'm looking for. So another pirate for 100. That was a waste. And that leaves me with 80. Let's keep switching through here and see if there's anything left to craft. I suppose there is a lot left to craft, come to think of it. All of these that are missing, like, just duplicate the common cards so that they're off the table, and I have more of the classic cards that are hero based. So if I get a daily quest that says play hunter cards, I have more hunter cards. If I get a daily quest that says play more of something else, I can do that. However, it cost me 40 gold to make those 2 cards, so that's as much as I can do today. Not great progress. Card back time. This is the new favorite, I suppose. Maybe I never even used this one. I don't think I got around to it. Let's get out of crafting mode. And we need a shaman deck that is all about overloads. And more I just am gonna have to get rid of these original decks now. It's time for that to happen. So shaman deck might as well be a standard deck. Choose this, and then we can just type in overload. And play all of the overload cards, and play the one card that actually works with overload cards. And at that point, I might be able to squeeze Murlocs in too. Wow. That doesn't make sense. Where's all my other Murlocs? Where are all my other Murlocs? Seriously. Oh, I'm looking at classic cards. I needed to look at standard cards. Like, ooh, I was very confused for a second there. That spooked me like nothing Hearthstone has ever done before, because if Hearthstone could screw up in such a way that it forgot the cards I had, that would be very scary. So now I have more overload cards, and now I can look at Murlocs and see if I can squeeze enough Murlocs into this, if I can spell Murloc right, and if I could combine 2 decks into one. That is potentially what I'll do. Of course, I can't really do that. Yeah, even on this account, the number of Murlocs is high enough to make your own deck based on that. Alright. So we're done with that. Hop into the game and start playing. And I'm gonna just play casual. Well, I guess I might as well just play ranked right now. Ranked seems to make sense. We have a decent amount of news. Most of it is top 10 Game of the Year stuff. For some insane reason, the Nightbot playlist has decided to go crazy. I don't know what it is doing that, but it is. So if we get any song notifications, it's very possible that the songs will skip really fast and far. And maybe you couldn't click on the links and listen to the music anyways. I looked at the secret playlist set up as I have it, and I was thinking, is there something different I could do to improve it or rephrase things? Unfortunately, Nightbot is just so beta that I can't figure out any way to change anything at all. So not even a single word. Otherwise I would phrase things better. So I want to start, I guess, with Giant Bomb's Game of the Year 2017 best game. I listened to all of their deliberations, if I can say that correctly. And for the most part, I don't remember any of it. Like, literally nothing. It went on for so extremely long, and they argued amongst themselves for so long in every single category that I could not off the top of my head tell you what game won anything. I don't have any reason or explanation as to why any game won any of the categories. It really failed this year in particular to highlight a game and awarded anything. It highlighted the arguments. Maybe there's been a change of opinion in me, almost certainly this year. A lot of things have happened, and my view of the mainstream video game media has definitely shifted, and that might be coloring my vision. But honestly, as objectively as I can look at it, it seems like it's just a poorly thought out deliberation. At least when you have something like the Video Game Awards, at least when you have something like the Emmys, there is definite focus on giving an award, saying the name, making that be a big thing, recapping things. in between commercial breaks in most of the Emmys and Oscars things. There's just like a thought process there that helps, and that's not the case. And so and the other thing is with the giant bomb thing is they didn't write down any of their lists, so I'm having to go through a comment that's hidden behind a spoiler tag on their video. So I mean, I know they're doing it right as they're also leaving for the Christmas break, and that there's some reasons behind them not doing a lot of print versions of their things, but they clearly directly say they had an Excel sheet that they were moving the lists up and down. As a side note, I did the 2017 year in review. At the end of the year review, I picked a game of the year. For me, my pick of the game of the year of the games I played was Darksiders War Mastered Edition. I think it was probably the best game I played all year, and it has that beauty of really being a surprise release and giving hope that the series is going to continue, because all indications are the series is in production to continue. They've said that much. So, yeah. But in that process of me working with an Excel sheet, I realized I should probably have a column where I could mark things and do a top 10. So I practically talked out the idea of what my top 10 games are, but I didn't sweat it or think for a second that, like, what the exact order is. So I probably named a few top 3s, a few top 4 through 6s, and a few top 7s through 10s. And didn't get down to the minutia of who is better than who, which I'm fine with that. But next year, I think we're going to do a real top 10. Maybe I'll even break the two videos apart. I also am kind of happy that I somehow managed to do the 2017 year in review and not get on a rant, because all this week I've been thinking I'm gonna have to have this huge rant about how awful it seems that the mainstream video game media has been, and I didn't really have to deal with that. It just all kind of slipped my mind as I was thinking about what I was doing instead of looking at what other people were doing, which is I guess a nice perspective to take. So I may get more of a rant today, which, you know, my live streams have gotten pretty ranty anyways. It's just in the turn. So the top 10 list is number 10, Dream Daddy. Honestly, I don't feel like Dream Daddy should have been on the top list, but Abby in particular pushed really, really hard in several categories to get Dream Daddy to win. Now, this is a bit of a rant that I'm going to try and say, not make assumptions, and just say what it looks like on the exterior. It honestly looks like Abby in particular, but Giant Bomb, since its inception, has had a kind of lack of interest, biased against Japanese games, with the exception of Nintendo games. Like, Nintendo games gets a pass, but anything that is a Japanese style, anime style game has been from the beginning not really played, not really considered. That in the fact that almost all visual novels are Japanese games, uh, or Asian games of some sort, and in that anime style, they've never really had any interest in covering any visual novels up until this point. And from the outside, it seems very possible, and the way Abby was arguing it, it seemed very, very obvious that the only reason it was even for consideration is because Dream Daddy pushes a liberal agenda to be pro homosexuals, which like, I don't have a problem with that. I'm fine with that, but I cannot believe that in the entire collection of the thousands and thousands of visual novels on Steam, Dream Daddy was the best this year, or Dream Daddy was so exceptionally better than all the others that have ever come out in all history that all of a sudden it justifies being in the top 10 of every single style of game. This also kind of comes into play when Abby was arguing against Nier Automata. She didn't want it as high on the list as it was going to get. And for reference, I probably would have given Nier Automata number 1 had I played it this year. Travis popped into the chat and said, "Hey, Rydo." And then there are people that aren't Abby. There are other websites that are giving Butterfly Soup Game of the Year awards, or Best Visual Novel of the Year awards, for the same reason. It's a liberal agenda thing, like pro Muslim girls, and Muslim girl wearing a Bleach anime shirt in one cutscene, which, while also wearing a hijab. And I'm like, okay, depending on which country you're in, you might get arrested and thrown in jail or executed for that. So yeah, it certainly looks like their agenda put Dream Daddy on top 10. Next one is Tekken 7. Now, I might argue Tekken 7 doesn't even deserve to be on the list, but it's kind of the special interest for fighter fans, and I'm not sure how many fighting game fans there are. There is no other fighting game on the top 10 list, so maybe Tekken 7 was the best fighting game of the year, but I'm not sure it adds anything. What I would say, and what I would argue, is that Tekken 7 doesn't deserve to be on the top 10 list because it didn't succeed in the same way that all previous fighting games haven't succeeded, in which they don't bring new players to the table. Some of the, like, Injustice games tried really hard to do that by having the DC superheroes as the fighters, but it really has been, since the days of Mortal Kombat and arcade games, it's been that long since people, new players, have wanted to play fighting games. I think inherently it comes down to the fact that fighting games were originally arcade games, and they have 6 to 8 buttons that need to be laid out in a completely different, so you kind of have this high barrier of entry to play a fighting stick, to buy a fighting stick and play with that. There is also similar issues with driving games. Driving games are probably a lot better if you have a $200 driving wheel set up on your PC or your console. But that's just such a high barrier to entry. You need 5 to 10 racing games before you could even consider doing something like that and it being realistic. So number 8 was Night in the Woods. They were very, very happy with Night in the Woods. Every time I see Night in the Woods, I am disappointed with the graphics and uninterested with the graphics. So there must be something in the story there that really catches their attention. But who knows if that's something that I would enjoy or not. Then number 7 is Wolfenstein 2: The New Colossus. And honestly, I don't know if it deserves to be on the list too, but like I could probably go through at least 6 or 7 of these games and say maybe it shouldn't be in the top 10. Particularly if I started to name like some independent games and non-big title games. Everything on their list is something that they wrote an article or did a video on, Giant Bomb did, and it got them a lot of views. So there's no sleeper hits, there's no niche surprise hits in this. I would argue Wolfenstein 2 is just a kind of wild, kind of crazy story that you might enjoy with a bad gameplay shooter around it. I would argue Titanfall 2 probably should be on this list instead of Wolfenstein 2. And I haven't played either one of those games, but I suspect from what I heard, Titanfall 2 was a better shooter. And if that's what you're going for in the game, that's fine. Number 6 is Destiny 2. I think once you get tied into some of these MOBAs, you just can't give them up. And so, like, I wouldn't give Destiny 2... it wouldn't be on this list too. Of course, it's easy to be critical here. Like, I'm saying I wouldn't have most of these games on this list, but I honestly can't, off the top of my head, think of complete replacements for them. I would also say it still feels like that same agenda, that same liberal agenda that pushed Wolfenstein 2 to being on the list. But it's kind of a shame that there's not some way I could search every game that came out on Steam in 2018, and there's so many that did come out. Like I would have to filter. Maybe I could do that, but it would take too much time to set it up. With the enhanced Steam plugin, I might actually be able to do that. Come to think of it. Next was Cuphead. I can't disagree with Cuphead being on the list. Maybe I could disagree with it being on top 5. They certainly argued a lot whether Cuphead was better than Super Mario Odyssey. I think I would agree, though, that Super Mario Odyssey, which is number 4, is better than Cuphead. And then they say Nier Automata is better than Super Mario Odyssey, which I almost want to disagree with that. Like, that's a hard decision. Do you want a mature game, or do you want a repetitive kids game with a ton of moons to collect? And when you start talking repetition, it doesn't work in either one of their favors, because while it is a repetitive, well, I was hoping that would be a 2-2, and that would be a 3-3, and that would be a 4-4. Like, there's some repetitive gameplay in playing Nier Automata 2 or 3 times in a row, and then but honestly it starts changing up after the second run through, and it's like a completely different experience, I think, on the third and continuing run throughs to get different endings in Nier Automata. So it probably is better than Super Mario Odyssey, although once you take the nostalgia out. But I completely disagree that Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild is better than Super Mario Odyssey, because there's just some major problems with Breath of the Wild. Alright, so now I just need to go ahead and get some Rogue or Warrior victories. Do I have something that will work for Rogue? We have a custom Warrior. and we have a couple of rogues, so any rogue in the storm, I suppose. We'll try custom rogue 2 and see what this is. So in all honesty, instead of having Legend of Zelda at 2, I would have put it at least at 5 and moved Cuphead, Super Mario Odyssey, and Nier Automata up. And then number 1 is PUBG, and I would argue that PUBG doesn't even really deserve to be on the list because it's not a finished game and it's not really doing anything super special. Like there's a lot of problems with let's see. There's a lot of problems with giving PUBG even putting on the list, let alone making it the best game ever. So at the end of the day, I'm majorly disagreeing with their opinions, and further, I'm disagreeing with how they arrived at their opinions. It didn't seem like it definitely wasn't a democratic thing. Every time somebody brought up voting, which was mentioned many times, Brad in particular said no and argued against it. The few times that they did have voting, it was by forcing it to be like non-binding, and it had people just going kind of in circles mentally. The thing that really strikes me is that there is it called Robert's Rules of Orders? There's a book that was written a long time ago on how to manage and run deliberations. It's like it's what they're quoting and what they're using a lot of times in Congress and Senate and stuff like that, or something like that. And if they just used the standard book, they should easily have been able to do a much better show. Simply by giving each person a set amount of time, like they do in Congress, to argue their case and then having a vote. And I don't think it takes too much work to change it in such a way that to set it up so everybody like would argue their top 10, argue their favorite games, and however they wanted it. There's 6 people in the room, so if they had given each person 5 minutes, put a timer on it, that probably would have worked rather well. Let's see. Trying to see. Calculator. Yeah, Steam database has this thing where you can calculate how much money you spent on your entire account if you want to be depressed. I'm looking at Steam database right now, trying to see if there's some way I could see every game. Let's see, packages. Is it under packages? No. Is it under apps? Apps. Let's see. Stats. Alright, top rated games, maybe. And then let's see, how could we filter? No, it doesn't strike me as there's a way to do this easily. So that's kind of a shame. But I'm looking at Steam database and everything else. Let's see, maybe a Google search of just games in 2017. Let's see. Persona 5 was not on the list. I imagine there's an argument there. Alright, so I guess we could maybe use this list. Let's see. Like, there's a Wikipedia article, gaming in 2017. Alright, here we go. So, I'm gonna just scroll down the list from January to December of games on Wikipedia that came out and mention some that I think might have been, should have been on the top 10. One of which should be Resident Evil 7. Travis asks if I have Kingsbane. I'll look, but I imagine I don't on this European account. Like this is just kind of a random deck I was trying out. I'm trying to get some victories on low rank players since we're both ranked 23 at the first here. I suppose Kingdom Hearts doesn't deserve to be in the top 10, but Yakuza 0 was talked about a lot, so maybe it would make number 10 over Dream Daddy. Yeah, it should have beat Dream Daddy. It's a more varied game. So that rogue didn't work. Let's try this rogue. I don't think any of the Dynasty Warrior games would deserve to win. For Honor certainly didn't deserve to win. The Berserk game was a big disappointment to me that wasn't something that succeeded. Like, I was hoping it would have been a good Berserk game. More people would have learned about Berserk. Let's see. Well, The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus came out, but I don't think it deserved to win. But the same argument that put PUBG in number 1, if everybody had been playing Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus, would have put that as a top 10 list. I don't think either one of them deserved to be on the list. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom I don't think was good, so that explains that. I'm not going to make any silly claims like Senran Kagura Peach Beach Splash should have been on the top 10, although certainly would have been funny. Let's see. Yeah, Mass Effect Andromeda, no. The Zero Escape Nonary games. If that potentially could have been in the top 10. Probably for the same reason that some of the Kingdom Hearts games could have been in the top 10 though, so maybe they're so niche. There definitely is an argument to not giving a niche game the victory in the top 10, but it really comes down to the fact that the Giant Bomb top 10 list and all of these sites' top 10 lists are based on what they play, and most video game reviewers don't play niche games at all. I think Snake Pass had a chance to win there. I didn't see anybody even play The Walking Dead Season 3, so that I don't even think they gave it a chance. And I didn't play it either. I haven't. I will play it eventually. Let's see. Persona 5, we already talked about. Bayonetta coming out on the Windows operating system. I think that should have been in consideration. If maybe not. I guess it just depends on whether you draw the line on games having to be original or not. Sexy Brutale should have gotten more coverage by far, so I don't know if it would have made it a top 10 or not, but yeah, I'd make it an 11 and knock off some of the things. Full Throttled Remastered, maybe? Nobody played Guardians of the Galaxy's Telltale game. The Disney Afternoon Collection, for a nostalgia reason, might have made it. Let's see. What Remains of Edith Finch definitely should have been on the top 10 list. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe seemed to be nothing special. A lot of these aren't specifically PC games, but Giant Bomb was never saying that they were only going to play PC games. In fact, I think the majority of what they cover are console games. Let's see, Minecraft coming out on a new console. I wouldn't give it that. The sequel to Akiba's Strip is Akiba's Beat. That came out and was immediately forgotten. Probably fine. Injustice 2. I would maybe argue Injustice 2 is better than Tekken 7. Having not played either one of those games. Darksiders War Master Edition did come out for the Wii U, and I think PC this year, so it probably should have been in consideration since I gave it Game of the Year. Let's keep on scrolling. Star Trek Bridge Crew. Is that a fair one? Give friendly minion immune this turn. Alright, now we'll do that, that, and that. Play one of those, and then the turn. Let's see, Dirt 4 wouldn't have deserved it to be on the top 10. ARMS, I could see why you wouldn't want it. Final Fantasy 15, like, I imagine there might be somebody that would go give it to Final Fantasy 15 if it was a finished game, but since it really isn't, I would say no to that. The Crash Bandicoot collection, no. Hmm. Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age. There actually is a decent argument to say that might make a top 10 list, since it is an improved version of the previous Final Fantasy 12. If Final Fantasy 12 was good, I did not play that well at all. What's this game called? Anti-Sphere? I've never even heard of that one. Splatoon 2. I think Splatoon 2 has equal footing to win over PUBG, because at least Splatoon 2 was a finished project. Tacoma was talked about a lot. I wouldn't give it a top 10 list, but it was talked about. I think Hellblade Sesuna's Sacrifice would have deserved to be in the top 10 list, honestly. Even if it's a short game that has some problems, it probably deserves a little bit more claim for trying something different and trying to go independent. Let's do this. And I think I should kill somebody. Yep, that's what I figured. Explosive trap. Let's see. Lawbreakers didn't deserve to win. StarCraft Remastered came out, and there was no talk or thought whatsoever to even consider that. Night Trap 25th anniversary, no real reason. Sonic Mania, maybe a reason to do Sonic Mania, but not really. In a similar way, as I'm looking at Naruto Shippuden and One Piece games, there is a significant number of fighting games that are Eastern based on anime fighting games that also are not given any consideration by Giant Bomb. So when you start saying Tekken 7 is the best, I mean, it's a completely different style fighting game. But if you're going to say one, you should consider the others. Record doesn't deserve to be on it. Windjammers doesn't deserve to be on it. Life is Strange Before the Storm, no. There most definitely was a lot of things. Arguably, a lot of people would put things like Pro Evolution Soccer on the top 10 list if they love Pro Evolution Soccer, although I imagine that it's not that great of a game. I suppose the question comes down to, how are you making your list? Is it based on your own personal opinions, or is it based on what you think the general gaming public Well, I just drew every single card I have left. And then of course Giant Bomb has a bigger issue in that it's a whole group of people, and wouldn't be fine. I'd be okay if they just all the sites with groups of people just had top 10 lists for each reporter and didn't even try to have a website. It really is corporations or people as an argument that that the corporation of Giant Bomb needs a top 10 website when there's no single person running that, or theoretically the person running the Giant Bomb website is the person in charge of Giant Bomb, and so it really just is going to be mostly their influence. FIFA 18, Star Fox 2? No. Well, that's one victory down. The Evil Within 2? Maybe it deserved more consideration. When I get around to playing The Evil Within 2, I'll have to rethink this year's top 10 list. I've finished all of the main story of Evil Within 1, and I'm taking a break and playing a different game before I go do the DLC. The Evil Within 1 is a shallow, poor comparison to Resident Evil 4, sadly. And I couldn't find any reason when I beat the game on casual to go back and play New Game Plus, particularly since I would have to play it on casual again. Like, they gave you a machine gun, that's fine, but I probably would have to play it a second time on New Game Plus, on casual, follow walkthrough, get every single collectible, and hope that unlocks something that I could take in a regular new game where I would start from scratch playing on hardcore mode, and that would somehow make it work. Just to beat the game on hardcore mode to maybe unlock something else. And like, it's just the interactions, the events didn't catch my attention. I would argue the Mummy Demastered has a place. Like, there's a good argument to making a Metroidvania game based on a movie that is better than the movie by far. See, I haven't even really named any Japanese games that would go on the top 10 list. I could certainly argue Assassin's Creed Origins, while it isn't like Assassin's Creed 2, and thus doesn't really feel like it's an Assassin's Creed game, is still probably worth being on the top 10 list, as just if you called it Origins alone and said it was an open world RPG game, it seems like it still works. And arguably, I would say maybe Assassin's Creed Origins works a little bit better than Wolfenstein the New Colossus, Wolfenstein 2 the New Colossus. So why did Wolfenstein get on that list and kind of high on that list, and Origins not get mentioned at all? Well, if you listen to the deliberations and can pay attention to them throughout the whole length of them, so many breaks were taken. Like, I would listen for 10-20 minutes and then have to take a break for several hours. And then I'd listen for another 10-20 minutes and have to take a break for several hours. In between listening to the deliberations of the top 10 of Giant Bomb. I'm glad no other website really does that, because that would just be infuriatingly long wastes of time. Neo, another game that has a chance. Maybe it would be 11, but maybe it should be on the top 10 list. Like, I wouldn't give anything to the Batman Telltale series. It'll do 2+, probably. Should be considered. I'd really have to play that one. L.A. Noire came back out. I wouldn't give it a top 10 list though. Here's one that's very interesting. I heard nobody talk about or even play Pokemon Ultra Sun or Ultra Moon. Like, maybe Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon is just an upgrade to Pokemon Sun and Moon. I think it is, and that might explain some of that. But there is also a level of, because this was a 3DS game and no real 3DS games were even considered, it just got lost. It probably is a pretty good Pokemon game. I don't think there's any reason why Skyrim being re-released should be on the list, even though it was re-released to like the PlayStation VR, and so that could potentially be argued as uh, a major change of events. Here's the Kingsbane card that Travis was talking about, so I'll hold on to that and play it. Kingsbane as a card is a decent one for the rogue if you have 2 poisons and anything else. Let's see. I didn't hear anybody play Little Witch Academia Chamber of Time, so who knows if that was any good. A few people are playing Xenoblade Chronicles. What was weird about this year is that it was such a good year for releases that I think a lot of people missed out on a lot of things. Like Dead Rising 4 Frank's Big Package, is that an expansion or is that Dead Rising 4 in a re-release? A Hat in Time. Maybe A Hat in Time. Should have been on the top 10 list. Travis asks, have I played the Witcher card game? No, because I think you have to buy it. That there's like a buy-in to it. So it's not free to play. Or maybe I just haven't gotten around to it. I'm not sure. I certainly played Gwent when I was playing Witcher 3. And I liked the concept in the single player experience. But even there, it felt like that was something that would only work in a single player experience, so that they're gonna have to add a lot of variety, a lot more variety than the game had, to make it a sustainable, continue to play game. And just visually having 6 rows on your screen is gonna make things look a bit smaller. It is possible eventually I will start playing that instead of playing Hearthstone, but that is a really hard sell. It's same as Fable Fortunes, same as Magic the Gathering, same as the most recent Yu-Gi-Oh release. If the interface is not good, if the community is not there, if there's any reason whatsoever that almost all the Hearthstone players are not going to move over to that new game, then it's hard for me to play a second card game. Witcher 3 in particular doesn't have the World of Warcraft cutesy animations, so if I was a parent and I saw my kid playing, say, Witcher card game or even a Magic the Gathering card game, I would, if I was a conservative parent, I'd be more concerned about that than if they were playing this. Destroy 2 random minions. I can do this. Yakuza Kiwami 2, again, a game that might be considered. Hello Neighbor, no. Okami HD, maybe that should be a consideration for Game of the Year. Pinball FX3 came out, but really it's just an upgrade of Pinball FX2, so I certainly would see a reason to not spend spend the collateral to put that on the top 10 list. Let's see. And I believe that is the last game. In fact, the last game to be released, according to Wikipedia, was on December 25th, called Style Savvy Styling Star for the 3DS. There's a list of unscheduled releases that just, I imagine, came out without any real date. But I'm not sure these would be in the top 10 list either. And then there's a list of canceled games. So Bloodstained Ritual of the Night for the Wii U, Scalebound Titanfall Frontline for Android and iOS, MetaWorld for VR, and then Club Penguin, Firefall, Tomorrow's Children, and Marvel Heroes were all shut down and discontinued. And then there's another list for critically praised games, so I could have just gone through this list of about 20 games. Like Res Infinite and N++ also getting mentioned but not having very many reviews. You know, I could see Res Infinite having an argument to succeed. So yeah, that was almost a long 45-minute rant of just the Giant Bomb top 10 list and top 10 lists in general. A lot of things I disagree with in the way that I feel like the reason for them picking the games were not valid. Like, they really need to have a paragraph explaining each category and what each category stands for. And when it comes to Game of the Year, they need to have all those subcategories of interaction, visual, audio, storyline. Because, like, a game could have a great storyline, but it could be a Telltale game where you don't really interact with it. Or the game could be a great first-person shooter and they have no storyline. The things that make up a game, and it shouldn't have anything like their best style joke list, where that is part of a consideration. Should be actual metrics, which a lot of that just boils down to numbered games. And like, do you want justifications on why a score gets a certain score? And I don't care as much about the number and the score on games, but I do care if you're going to say it's the best game of the year, you can actually back it up and explain a reason, and that reason makes sense to the general public. Moving on to the next article, Steam reveals its 2017 biggest earners according to PC Gamer. And that list is H1Z1, which is kind of surprising. The Witcher 3. Alright, so The Witcher 3, how was it a biggest earner? It's just a good game that was on sale. Like, there was no microtransactions or anything in Witcher 3. So just a lot of people bought it. Divinity Original Sin 2, Rainbow Six Siege, Dota 2, Ark Survival Involved. All of these games got heavy prominence on my Steam store throughout the year, so I saw them over and over again. Counter-Strike Global Offensive, GTA 5. GTA 5 does have microtransactions. Rocket League had a lot of DLC. Warframe, I'm surprised about that one. PUBG. And Ghost Recon Wildlands. So no real surprise there as far as the ones that earned the most money. But actually kind of a slight surprise on how many of those games off the top of my head don't have egregious DLC or microtransactions in them. So the argument or the idea that microtransactions are necessary to make profit is yet again disproven. The game Dead Cells is leaving early access, and well, it's not leaving early access. They're just raising the price. So this is apparently your last chance to get it for $12.74. But also the game's not finished. And the last thing I want to do, or I would ever suggest, is somebody fall for that kind of trickery. Like, this is just bad video game stuff right there. You like, don't buy an unfinished game, and don't be tricked into buying an unfinished game because they say they're going to raise the price on you. Because in the end, even if Dead Cells once finished is $100, if it's a bad game, who cares? You won't want to spend any amount of money on it. That being said, I'm watching the trailer of Dead Cells and it looks like it's a fine game. Like, that's kind of cool. So, as I'm working towards a thing here, what am I trying to say? Well, right now, I'm trying to wait for this guy to start a run so I can spectate him. There we go. Let's start spectating him. Yes. I was gonna say, because I'm recording 30-minute episodes of my things, of my videos for 2018, that is pushing my series far ahead, and at a certain point I am going to have to just be better at breaking up the live streams. Like, we've been going for an hour now, and I usually want to break up these live streams into 45-minute episodes. So I was going to break this up as soon as I see this guy hopefully win. Travis asks, have you thought about trying arena in Hearthstone? I moved from a ladder player to an arena player, and it's a lot more fun instead of having to play the same decks all the time. I have certainly done arena runs. I have tried it. The problem with arena runs is they cost money, and then I lose in 3 or 4 games. Like, particularly when I'm covering the news, I'm just not paying enough attention. Like, and frankly, I'm just not that good at Hearthstone. So, yeah, if I was like Kriperian and I could do an arena run and get 10 victories on average, or if not full 13 wins, I would play arena all the time, and that would work because then I'd get my gold back, I'd earn more gold, and that would leave me enough gold to open up 50 packs when the next expansion comes out. However, right now, as it's going, the expansions are coming around fast enough that there really seems like there's only enough extra gold after you want to open 50 packs to maybe do 3 or 4 arena runs in the entire 3 or 4 months that you do it. And as I get more cards, on my main account at least, it does make a little bit more sense to play constructed decks. Also, if I'm just doing arena runs, then my deck construction videos don't really have as much importance. And these are all videos that I think get more views as my pack opening videos and my deck construction videos. And it's probably time to make some new deck construction videos if I could think of anything to do. The Kobolds and Catacombs stream expansion really didn't add a lot of interesting cards. It just added the interesting... Let's see. Darn it. And... oh. That's not what this is. Defeat 5 dungeon run bosses. Alright. So we're gonna do a dungeon run, but first, I'm gonna switch, stop this recording and break it up. That's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on basically any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.